All right, let's dive into some CSS that you can actually use. Today we're looking at 7 tricks that are going to genuinely change how you write code. And what's so special about them? Well, they're not just some cool experimental feature. They have fantastic browser support, which means you can roll them out in production right now.
You know the feeling, right? You see this amazing, mind-blowing CSS trick online, you get all excited to use it, and then you check and find out it only works in one browser. It's a classic developer frustration. We love new tools, but what we really need are tools that are reliable.
Well, that's exactly what this is all about. Every single technique we're going to cover today is production ready. We're talking Chrome, Firefox, Safari, the whole gang. These are tricks you can literally start using the second you're done with this explainer. So let's get into it.
First up, we're going to tackle a huge one: building interactive UI components without writing a single line of JavaScript. Yeah, you heard that right.
Just think about things like pop-ups, menus, or tooltips. Traditionally, getting these to work, to open, close, and manage their state, meant writing a decent amount of JavaScript. And honestly, it can get complicated fast. But what if you could do it all with just HTML? Well, now you can, thanks to the new popover attribute. It's ridiculously simple. You just add the popover attribute to the thing you want to show. Then, on your button, you add popover target and make it match the pop-up's ID. And that's it. The two are connected. The button now toggles the pop-up. No JavaScript needed. It's amazing.
And you know what the best part is? The browser handles all the accessibility for you, for free. It automatically closes if you hit the escape key or click outside of it. It even manages keyboard focus properly. This is such a huge win, not just for simplicity, but for making sure your site works for everyone.
Okay, so you've got your pop-up working. Awesome. But now for the next classic headache: getting it in the right spot. Making sure your menu appears exactly where you want it, right below the button, has always been one of those surprisingly tricky CSS challenges. Until now, that is.
This brings us to our second technique, and it's the perfect partner for popovers: anchor positioning. Here's how it works. On your button, you define an anchor name. Just think of it like giving that button a unique name, or a hook. Then, on your pop-up, you use position anchor to latch onto that very same hook.
Once they're linked up like that, you can position the pop-up using your normal CSS properties, and it will always stay perfectly anchored to that button, even if the page scrolls or the button moves around. It is such an elegant and robust solution to a very old problem. Okay, we've simplified our UI logic, which is great. Now let's talk about making our styling workflow more efficient, starting with colors. We've got 2 techniques here that are going to help you write much smarter color rules. So picture this. You've got a component where you want the text, the border, and maybe an SVG icon all to share the exact same color. The old way meant creating a CSS variable like -brand and then applying it to every single one of those properties. But there's a much cleaner way.
The solution is the currentcolor keyword. It's so clever. You just set your main color property on the parent element one time. Then, for the border or the SVG fill or whatever else, you just use the keyword currentcolor. It automatically inherits whatever the text color is, so now if you change that one color property, everything else updates instantly. No extra variables, no fuss.
That's already a huge improvement, but we can take it even further. What if you wanted to create a new color that's based on an existing one? For instance, maybe you want a background color that's just a slightly lighter version of your text color.
This is where relative color syntax comes into play. Using a modern color format like OKLCH, you can literally tell the browser to create a new color from an existing one. In this little snippet, we're taking current color and just cranking up its lightness a bit. Now your background will always be a perfectly related, slightly brighter version of your text, no matter what color you change it to. It's incredibly dynamic. All right, for our final section, we're going to look at some seriously powerful new ways to handle text layouts and select elements. These are going to open up entirely new design possibilities for you. Look at this super common problem. You have a long headline, and it wraps awkwardly, leaving just one little word on the last line. Some people call this an orphan, and it just looks unbalanced and messy. The fix used to involve weird hacks or even JavaScript. Well, not anymore. Now you can add one single line of CSS. Text wrap, balance. And just like that, the browser does the hard work. It analyzes the text and figures out the most visually balanced place to break the line. It's a beautiful, simple fix for better typography. Okay, next up, think about this. For decades, CSS has always worked in one direction, down. We style an element based on its parent, but what if you could flip that? What if you could style a parent based on what's inside it?
Well, say hello to the has selector. People have been calling this the parent selector for years, and for good reason. It's an absolute game changer. In this example, we're selecting a card and giving it a special border, but only if it has an element with a class of badge inside it. This unlocks so many design patterns that used to require clunky classes in your HTML, or you guessed it, more JavaScript.
And for our final trick, let's look at a classic styling scenario. You've got a list of items, and you want a nice little separator line between each one. But you don't want a line after the very last item, right? Because that just looks a bit off. The not pseudo class is your best friend here. It lets you select a group of things, but then exclude something specific from that group. So here, we're applying a bottom border to every single list item that is not the last child. It's a super clean and precise way to handle those little exceptions in your styling.
And there we go. 7 powerful, practical CSS techniques you can start using today. Let's do a quick rundown of these new essentials for your modern web development toolkit.
So let's recap. We've got popover for JavaScript-free, accessible UIs. We have anchor positioning for pixel-perfect element alignment. We've got current color and relative colors for way smarter and simpler theming. Text wrap balance for gorgeous headlines, and, of course, the game-changing has-a and not selectors for more powerful and precise styling.
Every single one of these solves a real-world problem in a much more elegant and efficient way. They cut down on your code, they reduce complexity, and they open up a ton of new creative possibilities. So the only question left is, what are you going to build with them? Thanks for tuning in.